peace. If you're new here, then it's nice to see you. It's nice to meet you. If you're not new here, then welcome back, and let's get into it. Before we start, I know the title of the video is quite pessimistic, but I'm personally someone who I think that realism is what gets you places. I don't want to tell you lies, and the reality is that 2024 is just simply not going to be everyone's year. As long as you get through it, then you're good to go. In this video, I'm actually just trying to show you what obstacles you may encounter during 2024, which may lead to it not necessarily being what you want. And if you know about the obstacles, then you can prevent them, avoid them, mitigate them in how you see fit. I've watched so many YouTube videos on 2024 resolutions and how you're going to accomplish your dreams or what you need to do, and a lot of them involve becoming an it girl, getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning and journaling. You can do all of those things and you can take that advice, but the reality is that I think that change starts from in here, and I don't think that any amount of journaling, cosmetically getting your life together, is going to help you accomplish your goals. And if there's something going on with you that's preventing it, I think that you can build a routine, but you really have to change what's going on in here, and then all of the cosmetic and external things that you do will start to work once you figure out what's going on inside. I don't want to really use a lot of language in this video that involves like rebranding or reinventing yourself, because I just feel like you're not a corporation, dude. You're not a major conglomerate. You're a human being, and you really need to treat yourself like one. I get that a lot of people are influencers, but the vast majority of people actually are not influencers. They do not have a social media platform that they are influent on, or YouTube videos that they show themselves off in. The vast majority of people work every day. They go to school every day. They have kids or families that they're feeding, and they need concrete resolutions to the things that they are doing, because their job in life is not to be perceived by others, but rather to be happy with themselves. So when we're making a lot of these videos that tell you how you are going to accomplish your goals or how you're going to make 2024 your year, I think that it's best to gear it towards the average person, and the average person does not want to have 1 million subscribers. The average person just wants to make it through this shithole we call life. So our first issue of the day is mainly, is it really that deep? Is it really that deep? And I know you're probably thinking, okay, well, of course it's deep. It's my goal. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying actually is it really that deep to you? Of the myriad of YouTube videos that I've discovered, they all say the same thing. Don't worry about having motivation. Have discipline, have consistency, and then you'll accomplish this thing that you've been dreaming of. You really have to keep going at it. And you have to take advantage of your unfair advantages that you may have over the issue, and that's how you're going to really achieve this goal. But when I really sat and thought about it, I realized or came to the conclusion that personally the majority of people who are watching these videos, right, are adults. You're probably between the ages of like 18 and maybe 30, 35, where you're still for the most part really figuring things out. But the reality is that you got here somehow. And if you're an adult and you got here somehow, that means that you didn't lack discipline. You probably sometimes did lack motivation, but you didn't lack discipline. You didn't lack consistency or drive. What you lack was a personal investment in the goal. Personally, just speaking for myself, I've never lacked consistency or motivation or even discipline when it came to doing things that I actually wanted to do. For example, when I was younger, I used to be a biology major. I changed my major to government and politics. And I found that even though I had good grades in biology, and even though I managed to understand what I was doing, I was always inconsistent when it came to getting my assignments done. Funnily enough, when I started government and politics, I always got to class. Sometimes not always on time, depending on traffic, but I always managed to get to class. I personally think that if you are above the age of 18 and you are struggling to do something, I don't think it's because you aren't an adult or because you lack these redeemable qualities that are necessary to accomplish your goals. I don't think the goal is necessarily what you want for yourself. I don't think that you place a lot of time into figuring out what it is that you want. I think that that's any fault of your own. I find that, especially for 18-year-olds, just basing it off of how I was when I was 18, when you're first getting out of high school, people literally just drop you off at a 4-year institution and tell you to pick something and make that your life's path. And so of course you're not consistent. Of course you're not motivated. Of course you're not disciplined. Even if you're above the age of 30 or above the age of 25, I feel like life has a tendency to kind of plop you into an area and tell you that this is what you need to be doing. I think that you have to figure out what it is that you want for yourself and then work towards that. When I first changed my major from biology to government and politics, first thing that I did in general was I first got myself down to the foundation of what it was that I had as a goal. And something in my head was like, okay, what is it that you really want? Like, what are the things that you actually want? Not the prestige or the working on a team. Like, what are some things that you enjoy that have nothing to do with work? And I was like, well, I really enjoy like traveling. I like going different places. And I like being financially stable enough to buy the things that I want without having to constantly wonder like, okay, am I going to have enough money for this or that? And something in my head was like, okay, so if you could have that life, but do it any other way possible, would you be doing this? And I was like, absolutely. And that's how I ended up changing my major. When I changed my major, I ended up having to take a class in philosophy. I'm not a big fan of philosophy. I just don't like it. But something that I did note in philosophy when I was in the class was like stoicism. And one big thing in stoicism is this idea that the goal is not to be the best. It is simply to be best. And what they mean by that, or what stoicism, I guess, in that stance means by that, is that your focus should be on self-mastery, on mastering your own potential. You shouldn't focus on things like endless competition or success and wealth, because it ultimately just breeds you trying to accomplish goals that have nothing to do with what you want. Another idea that I found in stoicism that I really enjoyed was that doing nothing was so much better than working hard at something that you did not like. You're not progressing if you're doing something that you don't enjoy or something that doesn't really fit you as an individual. And so for the most part, in order to progress in life or to become a better version of you, you not only have to be working towards self-mastery, but when you are not working towards self-mastery, don't be working towards something else. Overall, I just think you should probably ask yourself questions like, if I wanted to do this thing, how would I get there? Or like, if I could do this thing and I could pick any way of doing it, would I choose the way that I'm going now to get there? But let's say that you pick the goal, right? Let's say that like, okay, your goal is to get a 4.0. My head itches. Wow, that's crazy. But let's say that maybe your goal right now, like it's just something simple. It's not some life path of like becoming a doctor. It's something stupid. Like, oh, I just want to get a 4.0 GPA. I don't know why I said something stupid. That's clearly something smart. If you're getting one, then you got it. But let's say that that's your goal, right? So they say, you know, be clear and concise about what you want and create a timeline. You're like, I'm going to create an Excel spreadsheet for my grades, and I'm going to read the syllabus before I go in, and I'm going to like do all of these things to make sure that I'm like on point to get this goal. And then you get to the end of the semester and you have like 3 B's and 1 C, which is insane. It's insane. I tried. I had my clear and concise like timeline. I had my Excel spreadsheet with all my grades put into it and how I was going to study, but I still managed to get 3 B's and like a C. How the fuck did I do that? Sometimes in order to achieve the big thing, you have to kind of manage it and break it down into something a little bit less than that. So instead of saying I want to get a 4.0 GPA, maybe strive towards a 3.5. I know other people are going to watch this and go, that's not it. Like, don't do that. Like, make sure you keep your dreams and your goals big. I personally think that you should strive for the 3.5, not because you can't get the 4.0, but one, because striving for the 3.5 is going to take into consideration the natural weaknesses that you have that could inhibit you from accomplishing your dream. When I first started this semester, I did not strive for a 4.0. You have to have a 3.0 to stay in the master's program, and so that's what I strive for. I was like, okay, I just have to have a 3.0. If I don't get a 3.0, then they're going to kick me out of the program, so let's just make sure we stay in the program. I ended up getting all A's, not because I strive for all A's, but because I took into consideration that I had natural weaknesses and some unfair disadvantages that would prevent me from achieving a 4.0. For instance, I wanted to become a part-time content creator. I also really prioritize my physical health. I enjoy going to the gym and running, and I also too don't do so well if I don't get enough sleep. And so I said to myself, okay, if I'm making content, right, I'm going to the gym like 5 days out of the week, and I also too want to sleep at least 7 hours because that's really what I need to function, then a 4.0 GPA is probably not feasible for me. And I still managed to get one, but it wasn't because I planned for one. It was because I took into consideration that I had a lot of weaknesses or things that I was not going to sacrifice just to have a 4.0. When you are planning your goals, you want to ask yourself questions like, how much am I willing to struggle? How much am I willing to sacrifice for this goal? I'm not going to sacrifice my sleep. Listen, I don't care what anybody says. I know a lot of y'all will sacrifice a lot of things. I am not getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to journal. I want the extra hours of sleep. I want to relax. I do. I'm not willing to sacrifice my YouTube channel. Then I said, okay, if I'm not going to sacrifice those things, then I need to put those into my priorities because I'm not going to drop everything else to achieve this. You want to make plan B the goal. My camera keeps overheating and dying, so if you see me gradually get more and more pissed off, it's because of that. Jesus Christ, like what the fuck? Anyway, you maybe want to get a 4.0, or you want to lose like 80 pounds. Strive to lose maybe 40, right? Because you really love chips, or maybe you really enjoy having a burger every so often. I know you're going to tell yourself, well, I'll do anything to have this. The reality is that no, you probably won't do everything to have it, or anything to have it. If I wanted to be the most wealthy person on the planet, I'd have to give up like 2 of my limbs. I would just say no, because there are some things that you're just not going to put up with to achieve this goal. When you take into consideration your weaknesses, you work a lot harder and you stop engaging in a lot of negative self-talk or lots of excuses for yourself. So instead of in the past, I would say things like, oh, well, I can't finish this assignment, or I can't study for this exam because I have to go to the gym. Instead, it turned into, okay, I know I have to go to the gym tomorrow morning, but I also have to study for this exam. I'm not going to sacrifice going to the gym, so maybe I'll just only go in there for about 45 minutes to an hour. I won't be in there for over an hour. Because imagine if you did sacrifice all of these things that were important to you. If in the end all you have is that to show for yourself, would you really even be happy? All I'd have are my grades, and that's it. Is that really a life worth living? Making plan B the goal is just helping you with the fact that if you can't accomplish this thing, you don't have to spend so much time reconciling yourself with that fact. Something that I think really goes along with this that I thought was pretty helpful or beneficial to like this idea that you want to make plan B the goal is that like when I first entered accounting, I had to learn, like, because I had never studied accounting in the past, I had to learn of general accounting principles that I didn't necessarily know about before. And one of them is this thing called conservatism. Like, accounting conservatism is essentially this idea that you want to like be very like stringent when documenting your losses as opposed to documenting your gains. And so if you think that you're going to make a loss for the year, even if you think that it needs to be in the books, versus maybe you think you're going to make a gain, you don't document that until it's actually happened or until it's been registered. So unless you've actually sold this thing for more than what it's worth, you don't document the market value of how much it's worth on your books just because you can. And I think that that goes in terms with goals and making plan B the goal, right? Because you want to be conservative about what you're going to do. It leads to less disappointment, and it also leads to you being more realistic. And it also, I think, helps with you working harder, because I didn't work so hard when I didn't realize that I was weak. If you don't know your weaknesses, then you don't know what you're fighting against. And that can be external or internal weaknesses. But the reality is that if you don't know what they are, then you're kind of working blind because you don't necessarily understand that things are going to get in your way. And so just take that into consideration. Anyway, this last final one is probably not going to be everybody's cup of tea. A lot of the things that I've set out in this video, or things that I've said, these 3 points that I wanted to make to you all, are all things that I felt I did not embody. So trust that if you feel hit, like if you feel like a hit dog and you're like hollering and going off right now, same. The last and final thing is that maybe you don't fit the goal. I know that step 1 was like, you got to do it for you, and you got to make sure that like it's what you want for yourself. I'm not gonna lie to you, buckaroo, but sometimes you can want something for yourself and you really aren't the type of person that is of the caliber of achieving it. And I hate saying it that way. I feel like I just, honestly, my heart hurts for me, because I'm like, wow, do I really gotta hurt my own feelings like this? But it's really the truth. I love examples, so I'm just gonna go into one. I was talking to this guy at one point, right? Neither here nor there. I'm not talking to him anymore, so he doesn't matter. We were talking about politics, and he said something along the lines of, oh, I just want better for my people being Black people, right? And so in my head, I'm thinking, oh, do you vote locally, or do you vote in like the primaries? Like what is it that you say you want better? Like, what are some things that you do? And he's like, well, I don't really like to be involved in political institutions, and I don't really like to involve myself politically, which is neither here nor there. And so I'm like, okay, well, do you donate? Do you engage in any volunteer work? Didn't I just say that? And he's like, I hate the system. Like, I don't do anything. I just want better for my people. So my problem in this scenario, before anyone gets going in the comments, is not that he does not vote or that he does not engage politically, because I don't personally feel like you have to engage politically to be free in your country. You should have the option not to.
I think that what ultimately will make a nation a free nation is having choices and also being able to not participate at all. If you have to participate, you're not free. Just as similarly as if you can participate, but you don't necessarily have the right to choose the options that you want to choose, and that is also not freedom either, right?
They both have to be here. What annoyed me was that someone can want something that they had no intention on working towards. But when I thought back to that conversation and I really looked at it, because the reality is that if you're talking to someone or dealing with someone, regardless of whether or not you hate them or don't like them, frequently when you're talking to someone, there are things about them that you embody yourself. I recognize that there were a lot of areas in my life that I had that mindset in, and I was judging him for it. But personally, when it came to a lot of the goals that I wanted for myself, I had a really bad habit of saying that I wanted this thing and then doing nothing to accomplish it from an individual standpoint. I was watching this video recently. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but it's Ali's son Via. I'll link the video that I watched specifically in her channel down below in the description. But it was a video specifically on like self-centeredness is not self-care. And in the video, she discusses how for like Gen Z and millennials, there's this almost like ideological shift where Gen Zers and millennials have these morals that are really great on like an international relations standpoint and from a political standpoint, where they really do want better for the world. But in their day-to-day activities, we do not engage in behaviors that are indicative of the values that we uphold so dearly. And so when I say things like, okay, do you really fit the goal? What I mean is that ideologically, that's how I ended up talking to someone who wanted better for the world, but was really, really rude and like inconsiderate when it came to how they treated me. Okay, maybe for 2024, you want to make more friends, but you don't keep in touch with your family members. You don't keep in touch with the friends that you already have. Or when people talk to you, you're quite hostile. You don't really want to have conversations with the people around you. Or when people look at you, you're very shy when people come up to talk to you. Of course, you're not going to make friends. You don't embody the qualities of somebody who can make lots of friends. The question that I have for you is, and I'm asking myself this question too, not just you, who you are right now, especially for the friendship goals or for the traveling goals or the it girl goals that you have. Do you think that the people around you would want to be friends with you? Would you want to date you? Genuinely speaking, and I don't mean from oh, I'm pretty enough to be dated, I don't understand. I mean, do you embody any of the qualities that someone would want in any relationship? Familial, platonic, romantic? Do you embody any of those qualities? I have a quote here from Henry David Thoreau, but I thought it was really meaningful. What you get from achieving your goals is not as important as what you become from achieving your goals. If what's important is what you become from achieving your goals, then a lot of the ideological values that you have to embody them on a regular basis. It's not as simple as saying, well, I want the world to be a better place. You have to actively contribute to that. If I want to be popular, and there's nothing wrong with any goal that you have, there's nothing too shallow or too small or too big that you can accomplish. Are you social enough? Are you kind enough? Do you really care about what goes on with others, or is it just simply that's just how you want to be seen? And so just be mindful of that. I find that frequently we have a tendency to say all of the right things, but in your day-to-day life, you don't really exhibit any kindness towards the people around you, and it often involves in you kind of looking like a bunch of shitheads because we say all of these great things, but when you ask us what we're doing, it's like, oh, I don't really do anything for the cause. Make sure that when the cause is yourself, at the very least, that when people ask you, well, what do you do for this thing? You can't just say, well, I want this. I want better for people, or I want better for myself. Make sure you're actually doing better for yourself. Yeah. I hope that this video was informative enough, or that it offered you some insight into how you can make 2024 your year, and how you can really engage with yourself and ask yourself the right questions so that you can accomplish your dreams. And you don't have to get up early to do it first. Sometimes you might have to get up early, or you might have to journal it out or read it out. But for the most part, it involves in taking a lot of conscious, active steps to achieving these things, and not just simply using a bunch of cosmetic ways to fix an issue that you can fix by other means. Just know that you got this. You have the next 11 months to get your shit together and to get on track. And I think that you can do it. I think that you're consistent enough. I think that you're motivated enough and disciplined enough to do it. I just think that you have to put your best foot forward. And that's exactly why I made this video, was so that we could all put our best foot forward. But most importantly, if you like the video, then like the video, comment down below, and subscribe. And if you have any New Year's resolutions of your own that you would like to talk about, then feel free to comment those, as well as if you have any advice on how you think people should go about achieving their own goals for 2024, then please feel free to mention them as well. I will see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching. Bye.